Today, we're diving into how one single, perfectly executed military strike didn't stop a war. It might have just kicked off a global economic firestorm. Let's break down how we got here.
You know, for decades, the fight between Iran, Israel, and the US was this shadow war, right? All fought in the dark, cyber attacks, covert ops, that kind of thing. But on February 28th, 2026, well, that all changed in a flash.
Just like that, the age of whispers and, plausible deniability was gone. The old, unspoken rules completely shattered. And what started next was a whole new chapter, one that's way, way more dangerous.
And really, that's the central, terrifying question of this whole mess. The strike itself, it was a tactical masterpiece, absolutely perfect. But the price, was the price a global catastrophe? That's what we're here to figure out.
Okay, so what was Operation Epic Fury? It was a joint strike ordered by President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, and they had one very specific, very ambitious goal in mind.
Look, this was no warning shot. The target was the top guy, the head of the Iranian regime, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei himself. And the strike worked. By March 1st, he was confirmed dead. The plan was, cut the head off the snake. But what happened was, in doing that, they might have just unleashed all its venom.
So with its leadership in pieces, Iran didn't respond with a typical military campaign. Oh no, what they did was pure revenge. It was all summed up in this one chilling motto: if we burn, you burn with us.
And here's the thing you have to understand. Iran knows, they absolutely know, they can't win a straight-up fight against U.S. air power, so they're not even trying. Instead, they've gone for a scorched earth strategy. Basically, they're taking the entire region's economy hostage.
And the way they're doing it is pretty clever, in a brutal way. They're sending swarms of these Shahed drones, but not at U.S. military bases. Nope. They're hitting the big economic centers, places like Dubai and Doha. The whole point is to cause so much pain for America's allies in the Gulf that they have to make an impossible choice. Either kick out the U.S. military or just watch their economic dreams get turned into rubble.
And this, right here, this is the moment a regional fight becomes a global crisis. The chaos in the Gulf didn't stay there. It sent a massive shockwave through the entire global economy. And chances are, you're already feeling it. Let me show you how.
Okay, the first and most obvious hit, the price of oil. Before all this kicked off, Brent crude was sitting comfortably around $75 a barrel. Now, we're knocking on the door of $100 oil, and that's a number that puts a huge strain on economies everywhere. The scary part? There's really no end in sight.
If you want to see just how bad the damage is, just look at a country like India. They import almost 90% of their oil. 90%! For a huge, booming economy like that, a sudden energy price spike isn't just a problem. It's like a full-blown economic heart attack. It stalls growth, it pumps up inflation, the whole deal.
So, you might be thinking, how does all that actually hit my wallet? Well, it's a pretty simple and pretty brutal chain reaction. First, oil prices spike. That means a country's import bill goes through the roof. When that happens, it puts a ton of pressure on the local currency, making it weaker. And when your currency is weak, well, everything you buy from other countries, fuel, food, electronics, you name it, gets more expensive.
Which brings up a huge question. How did the planners get this so wrong? I mean, the strike itself was a work of art, militarily speaking. But it seems like it was built on a really, really bad strategic miscalculation.
And that really gets to the core of it. The military execution, the intel, flawless. But strategically, they were completely blind. It's like they couldn't see past step one. They were so focused on taking out one guy that they had zero plan for the massive power vacuum they were about to create.
And right here, this is the biggest blunder of all. See, the same strike that killed Khamenei, it also took out any of the more moderate guys who could have taken over. So power didn't go to reformers. Instead, it got snatched up by the most radical IRGC and Bashi warlords. And here's the crazy irony. The deal-maker president ended up accidentally taking out every single person he could have possibly made a deal with.
So this leads us to the new kind of battlefield we're seeing. Let's say you can't go toe-to-toe, plane for plane, or ship for ship. How on earth do you fight a superpower? Well, you don't fight their army. You fight their wallet.
Just look at these numbers. It's insane.
Iran is sending over swarms of drones that cost, what, maybe $20,000 a pop? To shoot down one of them, the US and its allies have to fire a Patriot interceptor missile that cost $4 million. A single shot. Think about that. You could literally go bankrupt winning every single battle. It's an absolutely brilliant asymmetric strategy.
Yeah, this strategy actually has a name. It's called interceptor attrition. The idea is simple. You bleed your enemy's bank account dry by making them spend millions to defend against your cheap, thousands of dollars weapons. And here's the really terrifying thought. What if Iran is just using these cheap drones to make the West use up all its expensive defenses, just to clear the skies for their really advanced, really deadly missiles?
But believe it or not, the most dangerous fallout from all of this might not even be military, it might not even be what we think of as economic. It could be purely financial. Because right now, behind closed doors, a massive tectonic shift in the global financial system is being discussed.
Take a look at that number, $2 trillion. That's the best estimate for how much money Gulf nations, we're talking Saudi Arabia, the UAE, have invested in the United States. This isn't just a lot of money, it's a fundamental pillar of the global financial system.
And that leads to this incredibly dangerous question that leaders in the Gulf are apparently starting to ask themselves. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. From their point of view, their cities are getting bombed because of a decision the U.S. made, while at the same time, their own national savings are basically propping up the U.S. economy. You can see how that just doesn't add up for them. So what happens if they decide to pull that $2 trillion out? The fallout would be, well, catastrophic. We could be looking at the end of the petrodollar system, the very system that has made the U.S. dollar the world's go-to currency for the last 50 years. Without that Gulf money, the U.S. would be left scrambling to pay for its huge deficits, its military, everything.
And that's pretty much where we are today. Any idea of a quick, clean win is completely gone. The perfect tactical strike has backfired, and now we're stuck in this long, grinding war of attrition with no obvious way out.
So this isn't some distant conflict anymore. You can think of it like a fire that's just broken out in the engine room of the global economy. And that leaves us with one final critical question for all of us. How long can the whole system keep running when its engine is on fire and nobody seems to have a fire extinguisher?